Hello students, welcome to BYJU'S classes. Recently the government of India has decided to increase the MSP prices to 150% of the cost of production. As a result of this particular announcement of government of India, there is a lot of discussion surrounding the concept of MSP as well as the implication of this particular hike on the farmers. In this particular video lecture, we will try to analyze the concept of MSP as well as try to analyze the implications of this announcement of government of India. So, in this video, the points that we will be discussing are the basic concepts related to MSP, that is ABC of MSP, why the government of India announced such a huge hike in the MSP presently. Third, in what way it will provide the benefit to the farmers. Fourth, what are the concerns or worries related to this particular decision of government of India. And finally, we will discuss what is the way out. What are the recommendations so that the government of India will be able to achieve its goal of doubling the income of the farmers by 2022. And finally, we will make a conclusion out of this particular analysis. So let me start discussing with the first point, that is ABC of MSP, or the basic points related to MSP. MSP basically stands for minimum support prices, or else it is also referred as a floor price. Now what is the meaning of the minimum support price? These are nothing but the prices which are announced by the government of India, at which the government of India will procure the food grains from the cultivators or from the farmers. Let's assume price of a paddy, that is MSP for a paddy announced by government of India, let's say hypothetically is 30 rupees per kg. Usually they will announce for quintal purposes, but let's say hypothetically per kg it is 30 rupees. If the market prices for paddy fall below 30 rupees, let's say hypothetically 25 rupees per kg, then farmers can simply take paddy and sell it to government of India. And government of India procures the food grains, specifically more than 20 food grains which are announced under the MSP pricing. So basically government of India will procure the food grains through Food Corporation of India as well as various other procurement agencies. So this is the basic understanding of the concept of a MSP. Now what has been the evolution of MSP in case of India? Let's try and understand this. In 1965, there was a severe shortage of food in case of India. This was because of the deviation of resources to fight the wars with China as well as Pakistan, as well as severe drought that was experienced in case of India at this point of a time. Ultimately, it led to a shortage of food in India, which was scaring food security, or which was basically threatening the food security situation of India. So in this particular period of time, government of India imported rice from USA under a concept called as PL 480 or PL 480. PL 480 basically stands for Public Law 480. And post this, the government of India made a decision to implement institutional as well as various other reforms, that is technological reforms, to ensure that agriculture productivity as well as production will increase. As a result of this, you will see reforms such as Green Revolution, banking reforms, as well as land reforms being pushed forward in this particular era. Apart from these reforms, the government of India also made a policy to control prices of agriculture commodities in the market. To regulate or to formulate a policy for agriculture commodity pricing, the government of India set up a committee, that was L.K. Jha committee. This particular committee gave a large number of recommendations to the government of India. As a result of these recommendations, government of India set up a commission which is referred as APC, Agriculture Prices Commission, on 1st January 1965. And this particular commission started giving recommendations to government of India regarding the floor prices that the government of India should decide for various agriculture commodities. Now this particular APC was later renamed as CACP, Commission for Agriculture Cost and Prices, in March 1985. And since then, it has been the CACP which is giving recommendations to the government of India to decide the MSPs for various agriculture commodities. Now, what are the factors that the CACP takes into consideration to give a recommendation on MSP? Basically, CACP says the factors it will consider is cost of production, that is a cost of inputs, what will be the forces of supply and demand, in both domestic market as well as international market, what will be the implication of this MSP on the consumers of the product, so on and so forth. Based on various factors, it will give recommendation of an MSP to Government of India, that is specifically CCEA, Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, and the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs will notify MSP for agriculture commodities. Now in the newspapers, the number of commodities which are covered will keep on varying, and usually you will see numbers such as 23 commodities to 26 commodities. If you go and visit the CSEP website, it specifies that CSEP recommends a MSP for 23 agriculture commodities. So basically let's go with this particular number, and CSEP, let's assume that the CSEP will give recommendation of MSP to 23 agriculture commodities to CCEA, and CCEA will notify the MSP. And very recently the Government of India has notified a very increased or a very high hike of MSP for Kharif commodities or Kharif agriculture commodities. So this is a basic understanding related to the evolution as well as the basic of MSP. Apart from this, in the newspaper you must have read these three terms, that is A2, A2 plus FL as well as C2. Now what is the meaning of each of the terms? Let's try and understand this. Basically, when CSEP will give recommendation on MSP to the CCEA, that is the Government of India, it will take into consideration three types of cost. Based on the three types of cost, an MSP will be recommended to the government. The three types of cost are called as A2 cost, A2 plus FL cost as well as C2 cost. Now understand this, the MSP that has been announced by Government of India very recently, or the hike in the MSP that has been announced is based on a concept called as A2 plus FL cost. Okay. Now let's try and understand all the three types of cost. A2 cost will basically cover all the cost that has been incurred by the farmer or the cultivator on inputs such as seeds, fertilizer, labor, power supply as well as water. So take into consideration all these particular costs, and you will come at a price or arrive at a price which is referred as a A2 cost of production. Whereas in case of A2 plus FL, FL stands for family labor. Apart from all the factors that are considered under A2, I will also consider the imputed cost of family labor. That is basically how much is the expected expenditure incurred by the farmer when he has hired the labor from the same family itself. A certain allocation will be made and that will be added to the earlier A2. We will arrive at A2 plus FL. Whereas in case of C2, which is referred as a comprehensive cost, we will take into consideration the cost that is A2 plus FL. Apart from this, we will also add to it the land rentals as well as the interest foregone on the capital. So basically the land, if he has used for something else, what will the money he has earned, and the cost of capital, that is the interest that he has paid on the loan that he has taken, will be added to the A2 plus FL. You will arrive at C2 pricing or C2 cost of production. Now please understand this, based on this analysis, I will simply say that C2 will be the highest, followed will be A2 plus FL, which will be followed with the lowest value of cost of production, that is A2. Now please understand, the Government of India has announced a hike in the MSP based on A2 plus FL, whereas the long-standing demand of various cultivators or the farmer producer organizations have been that the MSP has to be announced based on the concept of a C2. And you will come across a committee report which is referred as a Swaminathan Committee Report, right? The National Commission on Farmers. Basically, this particular committee was set up back in the year 2004. The concept back then was there was agriculture, huge distress in the agriculture sector, which led to farmers committing suicides. Now to prevent this kind of outcome, the Government of India set up a committee which was headed by Mr. Swaminathan, MS Swaminathan. This particular committee over a period of time submitted around 5 volumes of reports to the Government of India, and in the 5th volume of the report, this particular committee recommended that MSP must be decided in this particular format, that is MSP should be equivalent to C2 cost plus 50% of this particular C2 cost. Although this is the recommendation of the committee, the Government of India over a period of time has clarified that the MSP that they will give will be based on A2 plus FL cost. So this is a basic understanding of the concept of MSP, evolution of MSP, and MS Swaminathan Committee report. For example, in this particular slide you can see that there is a huge difference between the prices of A2 plus FL as well as C2 prices. For example, wheat, which is one of the very important agriculture commodities that is procured by the government of India. There is a 53% difference between A2 plus FL prices as well as C2 prices. But as already mentioned, the government of India will declare the MSP based on A2 plus FL prices. Now recently the government of India hiked the MSP for Kharif commodities. The list of these particular commodities has been given in this particular representation, and how much has been the hike has also been provided in this particular representation. And in terms of increasing percentages of increase in the MSP, the highest increase in the MSP has been awarded for ragi, which is more than 50% of the earlier MSP prices. Now let's try and understand why government of India has increased the MSP in the present financial year. The first reason is in the year 2014 and 2015 there was a drought in case of India. Following these 2 years of a drought, in financial year 16 as well as financial year 17, there is a very high agriculture production, which led to higher supply to the market, which led to what? Decline in the market prices. Now the farmers started feeling the heat of this particular decline in the market prices. The best examples for these are in West Bengal, potato production reported had increased by 22%. As a result of this, the potato prices at the time of harvesting were around 2 rupees 40 paisa per kg. In case of Lasalgaon market, which is one of the biggest Asian wholesale market for onion, the prices in this year itself dropped by more than 10 rupees in a span of 2 weeks. Same happened in case of a Washi wholesale market for tomato prices, which declined to a very great extent because of a higher supply in the market. And even in case of jowar, the returns in the last couple of years have declined by around 18%. Basically, all of this fueled rural distress, which led to farmer protest. Couple of months ago, you must have seen there was a huge farmer protest that was seen in case of Maharashtra. And the same scenes have been seen in many of these the states where there is a rural distress which is affecting the farmer incomes. So basically, to quell this particular farmer protest or to reduce the dissent in the farmers, the government of India has announced a huge hike in the MSP. Apart from this, this is one of the promises that the government of India, or to be more precise, the BJP government promised to the voters during the 2014 elections. And this particular promise has been repeated since then by the Prime Minister as well as other ministers of the government. And in the recently concluded budget, the Finance Minister stated that very soon the government of India would be bringing out a policy wherein the MSP will be increased to 150% of the cost of the production. That is another reason. And apart from this, in a larger picture, the government of India has said that by 2022, they want to double the income of the farmers. So if they want to double the income of the farmers, one of the ways of doing that will be increasing the MSP. Whether this is an effective policy or not, we will analyze it in a later part. But apart from this, another reason which has been quoted by the government of India to increase the MSP is to promote the cultivation of pulses as well as oilseeds. In the recently concluded MSP hike, the pulses have been given a huge increase of around 60% plus. But essentially the whole objective is to ensure that with higher MSP, the pulses production as well as oilseed production will also increase. With increased production, the pressure on forex reserves will come down because we import huge amount of pulses as well as oilseeds. So the pressure on forex reserves will come down, import bill will also come down. So keeping in mind all these particular factors, the government of India has announced a huge hike in the MSP for 14 Kharif crops. Now let's try and understand to what extent this particular hike in the MSP will benefit the farmers. First one, the government of India has announced a MSP based on A2 plus FL prices. Rather than that, the farmers would have been made better bargain, or farmers would have got better money from the government of India if they had decided a MSP based on C2. For example, let's take into consideration the paddy MSP prices. The government of India has announced MSP based on A2 plus FL, which is 1750 rupees per quintal. Whereas if the same paddy was announced, or the MSP for the paddy was announced under C2, the farmers would have gained 2340 rupees. In simple terms, for every quintal of paddy supplied by the farmers to the government, the farmers would have obtained around 600 rupees more. So basically, yes, the MSP hike will benefit the farmers, but they would have benefited more if the government of India had taken into consideration C2 prices. Second, the government predominantly procures rice and wheat, that is paddy and wheat. Now, no doubt government of India announces MSP for more than 20 agriculture commodities, but the procurement using MSP predominantly is done for paddy as well as wheat. So basically the higher MSP will only benefit only those farmers who are cultivating more and more paddy as well as wheat. What about all the other farmers? All the other farmers may not be able to get the benefit of a higher MSP or this hike in the MSP. Third one, not all the farmers will get benefit because even when I say paddy and wheat is predominantly procured by the government of India through FCI, this particular procurement happens in the surplus states such as Punjab and Haryana. So basically the farmers or the cultivators in these particular states gain because of this particular increase in the MSP. And as such, there are various reports which have basically criticized this idea of a provision of a MSP and have given observations with respect to how many farmers are actually covered under the idea of MSP. For example, there was HLC high level committee which was headed by Shanta Kumar, which submitted a report to government of India and said that only 6% of the farmers actually get access to MSP, or only 6% of the farmers sell their produce under the MSP. And there is another committee report of Niti Aayog which has found out that 94% of the farmers, although they know the idea of MSP, around 60% of the farmers or around 60 to 67% of the farmers make their own arrangements to sell the produce under MSP. Since the procurement agencies are far away from the villages, because of the paperwork required there, because of the delay in the payment of a MSP, very few farmers are able to get access to this particular MSP. But having said so, the government of India says that the whole idea of providing MSP is that it will act as a floor price, and this will come into picture only when the market prices will fall below the MSP prices. So basically argument is government will procure predominantly paddy and wheat and not all the farmers will be covered under the MSP. And finally, as a result of this particular increase in the MSP, some of the farmers will get the real returns, because earlier the MSP hike that was given for various commodities such as paddy was somewhere in the range of 3%, whereas during the same period of time inflation rate was more than 4%. So in effect, the paddy is sold in the retail market at much higher prices compared to what prices are obtained by paddy growers when they sell the produce to the government of India. So the returns were negative for the paddy growers. Now to a certain extent, the returns will become real or positive. Apart from these issues, one more issue is with respect to giving the MSP either on the same day or with the delay. It has been found that some of the states such as Karnataka predominantly pays the MSP on the same day when they procure the food grains from the farmers, whereas some of the states such as Gujarat pay 100% of the MSP to the farmers only after the end of the 1 month from the date of the procurement. So these are some of the issues which basically show that yes, the government of India has increased the MSP by a very great extent. And understand this also, this is not the first time that the government of India has increased the MSP by such a huge margin, although the government of India claims so. Previously, the UPA government also had such a huge hike. But the point of concern is that not all the farmers will get the benefit of this particular hike. Let's look at some of the concerns or worries. Some of the experts, specifically Niti Aayog as well as RBI Monetary Policy Committee, have warned that if MSP is increased to 150% of a cost of production, this may add or fuel inflation. What kind of inflation? CPI or retail inflation. In fact, the Monetary Policy Committee documents have stated that with increase of MSP to 150% of the cost of production, this will add 70 basis points to CPI inflation. So basically there is a worry that it may fuel inflation rate in the market, which may force RBI to further increase the lending rates in the market in the subsequent time. But having said so, some of the other experts who are supporting the concept of MSP, they are saying that this hike in the MSP will not be applicable uniformly for all the agriculture commodities, and second, in any case, the MSP which is there or which has been declared by Government of India is higher than A2 plus FL cost. So the increase in the prices which is paid by the Government of India will not have a huge impact on the inflationary trend. Second one, the government may find it very hard to formulate the guidelines regarding the policy of imports for a simple reason. usually the international market prices or global market prices for various commodities will dictate in what way the domestic prices also move. This has been very true, especially in the last couple of years. That is, there is a strong correlation between global market prices of agriculture commodities with the domestic agriculture commodity prices. Now the concern is that with this particular hike of MSP for agriculture commodities, the global commodities might become cheaper and may start flowing into India, which will basically counteract or negate the policy of the government of India. Third one is there is a limitation on the procurement or how much government of India procures in the form of MSP. Usually, when the budget is announced by government of India, for the procurement of food grains, the government of India allocates a certain money, and within this particular allocation itself, the government of India usually procures the food grains. That is the precise reason in the earlier slide I said not all the farmers will get the access to this benefit of a hike in the MSP. Cropping patterns will get affected. This has always been observed because MSP is a floor price which is a guaranteed price for the cultivators. Whenever the MSP is hiked, we have seen that cultivators will shift from cultivation of pulses to cereals if cereals get a higher MSP. So basically the pulses production usually will get affected. The land that is used for cultivation of other commodities will get affected. Supply of cereals will increase in the market. Supply of other commodities will take a hit in the market. As a result of which, price volatility is created in the market, which will affect our imports as well as exports. So this will affect the cropping patterns. And finally, it is expected that with increase in the MSP for paddy alone, the government of India will have a subsidy outlay of more than 15,000 crore rupees. And some of the experts have warned that because of this higher MSP prices promised by government of India, it will affect the finances of the government of India. That is, the expenditure in the form of agriculture subsidy or food subsidy will increase. But having said so, the finance minister or the earlier finance minister has recently stated that this hike in the MSP will not have a very great impact on the fiscal deficit of government of India. So these are some of the concerns or worries that have been expressed by various experts. So finally, what is the way out? The way out or the recommendations to the government of India: 1. The agriculture sector suffers from structural deficiencies. It could be in the form of inputs such as a fertilizer subsidy. It could be a very high development or very high productivity. Seeds are not available, so on and so forth. The problems are with respect to inputs. The problem is with respect to what happens after the cultivation also is done. For example, the government of India has promoted the idea of a APMC. That is, APMC acts are implemented by various state governments, which will basically provide a market for farmers to cultivate and sell the produce and get better remunerative prices. But as per the survey done by Mr. Ashok Gulati, who is the former chairman of a CACP, he has found that because of various deficiencies in the market, the farmers or the cultivators actually get 25% of the prices which are paid by the final consumers. I'll repeat it. The survey done by Mr. Ashok Gulati finds that only 25% of the final prices paid by the consumers in the market reach the cultivators. Remaining 75% is cornered by various market intermediaries. So, agriculture sector suffers from structural deficiencies or structural bottlenecks. The government of India needs to implement structural reforms if they want to double the income of the farmers. Second one, the government of India might try out other forms of support such as Raitu Bandhu scheme, which has been implemented by Telangana government last year, under which per acre a flat support of 4,000 rupees will be provided before Kharif as well as Rabi season. Now, this particular model also suffers from certain inefficiencies, but nevertheless, again one more report or a survey done by Ashok Gulati and his peers has stated that if the same model is spread across whole of India, that is pan-India implementation, the government of India will incur a cost of 1.97 trillion rupees. Again, can it be trimmed? Can it be worked out? Definitely possible, but one more way out is implementing such a scheme of direct agriculture support. Another important support scheme is Bhavantar Bhugati Yojana, which is a model of a price deficiency payment which has been implemented in case of Madhya Pradesh, or Bhavantar Bharpai Yojana, which is another form of a price deficiency payment which has been implemented in Haryana, can be tried out by government of India. Again, having said so, it doesn't mean that none of these models have got any kind of a bottlenecks or inefficiencies. There are definitely inefficiencies or concerns related to all the three models. but they can be bridged or they can be taken care of over a period of time. Apart from this, Niti Aayog has already recommended a three-pronged strategy to double the income of the farmers, which can be titled by Government of India. One is implement marketing reforms. The Government of India has already tried out ENAM or is in the process of implementation of ENAM, that is Electronic National Agriculture Market. But it has been found very recently that the farmers who have registered on ENAM, even now they are unable to get the right remunerative prices or there are various issues concerned to implementation of ENAM. So, second, changes in the rules of the forestry which will lead to higher production and land lease reforms. These are the 3 points or 3-pronged strategy which has been promoted or which has been given forward by Niti Aayog. And finally, the government can try various recommendations which have been given under the MS Swaminathan committee report. Right? So, basically the Government of India, if they want to double the income of the farmers, a better approach will be to implementing various other structural reforms rather than focusing only on the MSP. So, these are some of the issues related to the concept of MSP as well as the implication and analysis of the present decision of the Government of India to increase the MSP for Kharif commodities. Thank you.